Welcome to a football show, Victory Monday edition on a gorgeous afternoon here at the pharmacy in East Nashville on McFerrin Avenue Boulevard. I'm not sure which one it is. It doesn't matter. It's a Victory Monday over here at the pharmacy, beer garden, and burger parlor. Of course, Zach and Braden. We have lots to discuss, lots to celebrate. The Titans have gotten their first win of the season, and the Tennessee Volunteers have gotten their second win over Florida in 20 years since I was in college. So it is a Victory Monday here at the pharmacy on a football show. How are we doing, sir?
We are doing
Cheers.
good. I am drinking a special rotating draft, I would assume, Master Gal's Baby Jasmine.
Ooh.
And it says here in Chinese script down here that if I steal this glass, I will be prosecuted for child abduction because it's a Baby Jasmine.
So that seems a bit harsh, but the glass is awfully awesome.
Yes.
It is a cool glass, and for those of you who are watching, which of course you'd be watching on the YouTube and the Twitter sphere and the Facebook page, make sure you turn all those notifications on because that is how you watch the show live and in real time. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, of course, you can see this fantastic glass that is apparently, if you steal it, punishable by law. Now, my wife is very good at stealing glasses. I make her do all of that. Not that it's ever happened before. But if it were to happen, my wife would steal
Allegedly.
my wife would steal this glass and then would get turned over to the authorities for stealing a wonderful glass. I am drinking a Funkstatte. I believe I got that right. Funkstatte, a German hef here. Of course, this is a beer garden and burger parlor here at the pharmacy. So we are celebrating. We've got, of course, special thanks to Weiss Liquors and to Kingston Group for sponsoring the show. But if you're going to come out on a Victory Monday and it's going to be gorgeous with a light breeze and some warm sunshine, and you're going to come back here like these wonderful, amazing people are behind us eating all these burgers, it's packed here on a Monday. Great place to take the family. Great place to get a work lunch. Come out to the pharmacy, dude. This weather is amazing to celebrate a Titans victory.
I woke up a little bit chill in the air, kind of too cold to sit there and wait for Huxley outside to, finish his business. So I kind of stood at the door. But that's what I like. I like to be a little cold. House always stays at 6 to 8 degrees even through the winter times.
Oh, we're the same way.
And right now, you couldn't have asked for better weather, especially after the weird hot weekend it's been for the last few days. So especially starting on Thursday or last Monday, we were sweating our balls off here.
Come to the pharmacy where you no longer
no ball
sweaty
sweat.
balls. Come to the pharmacy. No, listen, they have a great beer selection. Again, where are you going to find a Funkstatte and a Chinese jasmine? What's it called? Jasmine ale?
Beer.
Jasmine
We're going to call it. It's not jasmine beer.
Jasmine beer.
It's
a Funkstatte.
It's ale-ish.
They also
ale.
They also have their own German Pils, which was put together by Bearded Iris. So locally sourced German Pils for a German beer garden and burger parlor. It is a fantastic place to come grab a lunch, especially now that the weather has broken and we are back to being a normal community and society here.
We hope.
And we hope, yeah. Knock on this beautiful bar here. All right, lots to discuss. We'll do some rapid-fire SEC stuff a little bit later on. The Tennessee Volunteers are off the schneid against Florida, so we can celebrate that, discuss what the future holds for Tennessee, Hendon Hooker, and the Florida Gators as well. But, of course, we have to begin with the Tennessee Titans and their first win of the season. Before we do that, however, we need to also remind folks of the Kingston Group, buildkg.com. Nashville's locally owned, award-winning custom home and remodeling firm. They also are a proud supporter of a football show. Make sure you check them out. And Weiss Liquors.
They drink. Wait a minute, you drink so they can drive.
Yes, there you go. Uber Eats, Weiss Liquors, the booze right to your house in as quickly as 20 minutes. Stop on in, say $4.40 at the register, and you'll get 10% off. That's tax-free booze. All locally owned companies, Zach. $4.40 local. Your local, Broadway Sports Media local, F-Words Pod local, football shows local. All of our sponsors and advertisers are locally owned and operated here in Nashville by Nashvillians and for Nashvillians. Now, Tennessee Titans have achieved victory. Are you willing to apologize for all of the moaning and bitching you did on Thursday's episode?
No.
Okay.
Why would I? What did they show yesterday that I should?
They got a W.
So, like I said,
the end of the world is not happening.
It's over for this team. That has not changed. This win means nothing. It's a moral victory. The season is saved bullshit that's going on Twitter and in my inbox from The Athletic. The season is saved. Is it? I mean, they can still go 1-16. They can still only get 2 wins. They are still right now number 5. They're the 5th highest team they're the 5th team with the highest chance to get the number 1 pick still.
Yeah, I saw that. Not good statistics. But here's
Yeah.
the deal: they went from a 6% chance to make the playoffs if they had lost on Sunday to the Raiders to a 31% chance. So statistically, the season was by definition saved by a 2-point conversion stop. We will get to the second
I guess
half.
it's it's where you rank on the importance of participation trophies.
Don't put that on me. I am anti-participation.
I mean,
as well.
in general, if people are big on participation trophies, yesterday, Victory Monday.
I beat my daughter
today,
at Uno.
Victory
I beat my 5-year-old at Uno, and I make sure she shakes hands and says, "Good game, Dad," when I beat her.
Yeah.
She takes the loss. Like if you're gonna, there's no such thing as participation trophies, but there is such a thing as statistical odds and probabilities of making playoffs versus getting first overall picks, and that changed significantly with a big stop on a 2-point conversion play. We will get to the second half because that is, to your point about how things haven't changed a ton. They haven't. That second half is going to be a big conversation a little bit later on in the show. However, with your starting left tackle done for the year, your top 2 pass rushers out for the season, or out for a while. Your other pass rusher, you're down to your 4th and 5th pass rusher. Your offensive line is large question marks. You're missing a whole lot of other pieces. We'll get to Farley as well. To somehow figure out a way to dominate yet another first half, and then to somehow figure out a way to find victory. In the NFL, it doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter what happens at the end of the Sunday, at the end of the weekend. You got to have a win, and the Titans are 1-2, and now have a 31% chance of making the playoffs instead of a 6% chance of making the playoffs. So maybe they did technically save the season on Sunday.
No, I just don't buy it. Like, to me, it just goes back to participation trophies. What is a save season for a team that had Super Bowl aspirations? You did not save the season. You are not meeting your own teams, your own GM's words, your head coach's words. You are not meeting those expectations. I'm sure it may be 30% chance to make the playoffs, which I still am very doubtful that that's true. I don't know where that number has come from. You're the first person I've heard say it. So I'm not too
sure.
You're
just doubting it because it's me?
Well, I mean, I just haven't seen anybody say it. So I just, I'm just saying this is the first I've heard that it goes from 6% to 3% because you're 1-2. I don't know what all goes into that, but the Jaguars are looking pretty good there at 2-1. So we'll see.
T. Good says, I'm here to see if Zach is still committing suicide, if he's primed for self-harm.
No, I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna, to me, they showed nothing but improvement. They just came across a worse coach team than they are.
Hard to argue with the McDaniels thing.
Yeah,
Mike Vrabel here.
He's 5-25 or 5-20 in his last 25 games.
This is a video, so those you watching, Mike Vrabel here, Josh McDaniels here.
Yeah.
When it comes to coaching quality, I agree with that. So let's get to some of the good. The start of the game, of course, and again, the win does statistically change the outcome of the season. For now, again, that could change next week. But for now, and so we'll start with the good. Derrick Henry, 3 straight touchdown drives to start this. Not Derrick Henry altogether, but 3 straight touchdown drives open the game to script. And now they have done very well with their opening scripts. I'm sure you think Tim Kelly has something to do with that, but whoever's responsible, the Titans have been excellent coming out of the gate with opening scripted drives, scoring early against the Giants, dominating the first half against the Giants. They actually were playing quite well against the Bills in the first half until the dam broke in the final minute. And then 3 straight touchdown drives, which I believe was as many touchdowns as they had scored the entire season.
One more. So what's the big difference between last year and this year?
You mean who might be involved in the offense?
Yeah, just saying.
Dennis Daly.
Yeah, Dennis Daly is the big difference.
You asked.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, who do you give the credit for when it comes to this offense clearly being prepared better than they were last year to come out and execute drives, dominate first halves? It wasn't domination against Buffalo, but it was against the Giants and it was against the Raiders.
I think this first half stuff, it's kind of hard. You can't really pin blame, or you can't really pin success on opening drives. Because if we're talking strictly on opening drives, you can only just assume there is only one big difference on these opening drives between last year and this year. And the opening drives, Dennis Daly, the opening drives do look drastically different in how they are executed, in how they are called, compared to the rest of the game.
Yep.
So Todd Downing is technically putting in these opening game scripts, which last week he said Well, that's like a misnomer. Game scripts are apparently a misnomer, is what he basically alluded to. Like
that seems odd.
Yeah, he's an odd person.
Todd, the one thing we can give you credit for is the opening scripts, and then you told us not to worry about.
Yeah, not to worry about it. To me, it's that kind of tells me everything right there. That I think that Tim Kelly's heavily involved in the game script process as well as the passing game, which has shown a rebound as well. Things that have improved and shown rebound, and then once you get away from the opening game script, it is pretty much almost complete and utter chaos. So to me, that's just like evidence that points to probably Tim Kelly's involved in the opening game script, and then he lets Todd Downing do Todd Downing things. Doesn't mean that Todd Downing's not helping on the game scripts and having input. I just think that Tim Kelly's word or play designs in the passing game have improved drastically enough to improve the opening drive.
12 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 6 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 8 plays, 79 yards, touchdown. Derrick Henry with 14 touches for 106 yards and a touchdown on those first 3 drives. He looked like the Derrick Henry we sort of expected him to grow into. It was never panic time with Derrick Henry, but it was time to say, hey, what do we think about this? And there are still major questions about this offensive line, especially with now we were not on the air when we got the news, of course, that Taylor Lewan is out for the season. So this is our
it was expected.
Like it was kind of expected.
Let's be honest here. That little move that he put it off all week long. It's so busting with the boys could break it.
Well, sure, which I have no problem with because he's like again.
No, just put us out of our misery. I guess
if it's your career though, you want to control the news. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
I mean, just don't stretch it out.
I agree with that.
Drama queen.
Tim says, Tim Dodge says, who is Mitchell and why does Vrabel love him? We will get to Caleb Farley and Terence Mitchell as a part of this conversation, but we have not yet converted to the negative side of this story. We still have lots of positive things to talk about. I want to say this at the start of it because Derrick Henry is a part of the positive, but I do want to say that like the game plan to get the ball out of Ryan Tannehill's hands quickly because the offensive line was a concern. The game plan to get Derrick Henry the football early and in more creative ways was interesting.
But also borderline almost disastrous.
Almost. The idea that if you want first downs or touchdowns, you throw the ball to Jeff Swaim. I've been saying it all summer. All he does is catch touchdowns and first downs. That's all he does.
Listen, Jeff Swaim is going to be a Tennessee Titan for the next 10 years, and he's going to have for over his Titans career 250 yards and 25 touchdowns because
1 touchdown for every 8 yards.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be. No, the point I'm making, Ryan Tannehill was very good.
Yes,
Ryan Tannehill was in control. I think one of the things that I've always
Ryan Tannehill's been good. All season long.
Yes, he has. And one of the things I've always wanted to see from Ryan Tannehill was in the face of bad offensive line issues, which he had all of last year with all the sacks, is his personal adjustment. Don't let the coaches dictate when you should adjust. You need to be the quarterback who makes the adjustment, whether that's pre-snap or post-snap. And I think this season, in particular this game, I saw a Tannehill who was like, remember the Jets game last year where they were bringing like 0 blitzes and they were still running 7-step play action drops?
Yeah.
There was no adjustment there from anybody, Downing or Tannehill. This game felt like whoever's in charge, I think Tannehill eventually has the ball in his hands, I believe, that Tannehill was prepared to make the plays he needed to make, executed them very well. He is one of the least concerning parts of this football team right now, if not the bottom of the list.
And I will also throw out there that I agree with you on this because I've noticed. First off, we've heard all offseason about him being more vocal, which I don't know necessarily if that's technically true because you got to remember there are off seasons where media was not involved in the training camp.
And what does that even mean?
Yeah,
sometimes?
But this game in particular, and I feel like at the Giants game as well, that he was more vocal pre-snap at the line.
Yes.
And so I totally agree that I think that he's got a better command of this offense to a certain degree. And I think that when you really get down to it, Ryan Tannehill is still super efficient. The numbers back it up. He's still great in play action, even though it now seems that the trend is instead of being 30% above play action, that you need to be above 40% of play action to get a win. I just think that right now they are, to me, I look at it this way, and then people are going to call me crazy, that I think that if Henry isn't great, Ryan Tannehill can still win you a game in the regular season.
I don't think that's crazy.
I think people need, because you hear these anonymous GMs.
Playoffs, you said regular season.
Yeah. Anonymous GMs, anonymous coaches come out and they say, well, if you stop Henry, nobody should be scared of Ryan Tannehill. I think that's a false thing to say this particular year. Last year, totally get it. Because, I mean, you shut down the running game last year with those weapons that they fielded for like 11 games. Yeah, no doubt that is probably true. This is a totally different team.
Question here. Y'all think they should keep Robert Woods at punt returner from Donnie? Tim says the only person I'm concerned less about than Ryan Tannehill is new punter Ryan Stonehouse, who I believe is averaging like 57 yards a punt and leading the NFL. So obviously the right move to move on from fan favorite.
Vrabel said today, I'll take 70-yard punts all day long.
Yes, as one should. So there is lots of stuff to be excited about.
But isn't it the same stuff that we've been saying isn't the issue? Like, what is something, in your opinion, because I can't think of anything, so help me out here.
Okay.
Well, I got one thing.
I think offensive, like this was not a good offensive team in the first half last season. They were very, very good in the red zone as well, both on offense and defense against the Raiders. They were very good at keeping the Raiders out of the end zone and went 3 for 3 on touchdowns in the red zone, which is something historically this team has been very good at. I think they spread the ball around in the passing game better this first half than I've seen in the first 2 games.
Yeah, I was going to say is I think that one thing that has changed that hasn't been present in other games that I think you could hang your hat on, that's something new, because I don't really feel that all that's that new to me or unexpected, is something. So a negative turned positive. I think, I'm not all the way there yet, I think Derrick Henry is getting back to form. Now,
I'm on board with that.
I don't think that we'll see league-leading rusher Derrick Henry, but I think we will stop seeing 2.2, 1.9 yards per carry Derrick Henry in a game on a per-game basis. I think he's getting more comfortable, getting there, getting charged up, revved up. So I think that is a positive, but does that mean it changes anything about the outlook of the entire season? No.
But I think, and this goes to what I was trying to get at, which is Robert Woods was clearly more involved. They got Derrick Henry more involved in the passing game. Those are the top 2 receivers on the team this past weekend. And largely all of his stuff happened early in the game on those first 3 drives where they scored touchdowns. So I think the thing that getting Henry more involved more creatively and getting Robert Woods more involved are 2 things that have not happened this season. I think those are things that happened against the Raiders. Now, some of that is the Raiders are 0-3, the only 0-3 team, I think, in the AFC. So there's some of that's situational dependency. But to go to him early, throwing him the football, and to get Robert Woods involved, who, by the way, is looking healthier and healthier every game, that's different to me, because normally they would line up and run Derrick Henry on first and second down like they did in the second half.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah. So to me, I agree with you. Like, my big takeaway from this game was more of the same issues. Those issues have not been put to bed. The only thing that's really changed in my mind that drove success in that first half was that Derrick Henry looked closer to original pre-injury Derrick Henry.
And I will say this. When Taylor Lewan goes out on the first play,
so that's your one positive you get.
There you go.
For me.
Stoney Keeley says, I hope you guys are ready for offensive coordinator Jeff Swaim in 5 years.
Well, heck, Taylor Lewan was on the sidelines coaching with the headset, the offensive line. So, maybe that's Jeff Swaim's bread and butter.
I do think this is something that happens in the NFL that doesn't really happen in like college football very much, which is when a backup player comes into the game midway through a game, or one play in Taylor Lewan's case, versus starting the entire week and practicing. I think that does make a difference. I think I'm still worried about running the football to the left side of the line.
Well, it's atrocious.
It's bad.
You want to hear the stats?
But Daly and NPF, I think NPF's getting a little bit better. I just think
NPF to me is getting worse, but it's also the quality of competition versus the Giants. So let me say,
two really good.
Worse is very relative in this statement.
Tim, what I'm trying to land is, coming in on the second play of a game is different than spending the entire week as a starter. And that is just a different thing. And I would assume the hope is that Daly gets better and better as the season goes along, more comfortable.
Well, they traded a 5th-round pick for him. Right. So, when you're talking about this kind of stuff, like, Daly has expectations. And now, listen, one hurry, he had not a very good run-blocking grade. They're not – run left is dead.
Yeah, it's not a good –
Run left is dead. This year, 18 attempts, 40 yards, 2.22 yards per carry, a fumble, and no missed tackles on the left side. So, and then if you go up the middle, surprisingly enough, that's actually better.
The middle is where they've been the best, I feel like.
and it's 75 yards, 5.77 yards per carry, 4 missed tackles, 1 touchdown, and 4.62 yards after contact per attempt.
Who are your best 2 offensive linemen?
Well, it's definitely
It's Davis and Jones.
I'm going to disagree and say it's Davis and MPF.
It will be Davis and MPF.
Right now, Ben Jones in the run game, yes,
and
I agree.
And Brewer in the run game, not in pass pro. But those 3 inside, that A gap on the right side of the center is going to be your best place to run the football for now. I like to believe. I'm with you. I think MPF's going to get better as the season goes along.
I think you're looking at a run right situation from here on in. Okay. I don't think that the combination of Brewer and Daly is gonna get you back up to snuff. Not to say that you can't get by with Daly. I just think that run left may be over.
And frankly,
that's probably what people are expecting too, right?
Yes.
I mean, you got it on a fucking hat. It says "run the damn ball" and run left.
It is on the hat. What are you gonna do? Yeah. I will say, offensive line play in general still possibly the biggest concern for this team, but the fact that Crosby and Jones did not really tee off.
Well, I will say this: Jones should be expected, because if you listen to Music City Audible, and they had 2 episodes last week, they had Marcus Mosher, who covers the Las Vegas Raiders. I was about to say Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders, and basically what he said and what has been written on silverandblackpride.com, Chandler Jones is a bust for them so far. So they are totally all the way out.
Well, he was
on Chandler Jones.
He's been moved around the league a bit. Now, he had the great game last year here for the Cardinals.
And then that was pretty much it. I mean, he maybe had 1 or 2 sacks after that. These last few years, Chandler Jones is not who the Chandler Jones in Arizona. Was he still in Arizona the whole time?
He started in New England, right?
England, but then he went to Arizona. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, here's a couple other positives. You do not want Rashad Weaver playing that many snaps, but pretty good player.
Get his ass into shape.
He's gonna slowly get better and better. Christian Fulton being back and being healthy on the field, played up every snap but 1. That's a positive sign for this team in a big way.
A little nerve-wracking though when he went down with that injury.
Well, it looked like a cramp, but
that's what I don't know if it ever got confirmed.
So what the problem with the defense is, and we'll get to some of this, but when you see the snap counts and you see 100% for Byard, 100% for Hooker, 99% for Jeffrey Simmons, plus a few special team snaps. David Long is 100% snaps. Mm-hmm. There's about 5 guys right now that are going to carry this defense until the other guys get back. And those, because now Cunningham's hurt as well a little bit. We'll see what that turns out to be. But you're basically depending on your 2 safeties, your middle linebacker, Simmons and Autry. And if any of those 5 guys from now goes down, then you're starting to talk about some trouble. But those 5 guys were very good. And then Weaver was pretty good. And then Fulton coming back was a good sign as well.
Yeah. Fulton and McCreary didn't have their best days. I think it's statistically on a per game basis. I think this was obviously, Roger McCreary's worst day as far as yards allowed, catches allowed,
right,
et cetera, et cetera. And I think it may be Fulton's worst day because he was kind of high up there on all that as well, according to PFF. But regardless, not their best days, but they weren't the problem. The problem
can we say one thing? Because I know where you're about to go here with the problem. The offensive line and the pass rush are the 2 biggest concerns on this team because of injuries.
Right.
It's about injuries. It's not having Ola, Bud, and Harold Landry. It is not having Taylor Lewan and a rookie. And it's an offensive line and Radens and all the stuff we talked about for months about the offensive line. Those are the 2 biggest concerns for the team moving forward. But a lot of that is injury related, particularly on the defensive side of things. Where we're about to go now is not injury related.
No.
This is picking a player up off of somebody else's practice squad on a Wednesday and thinking that is a better option for you for all but 1 snap than Caleb Farley, your former first-round draft pick, Terence Mitchell, who got beat pretty handily. I want to say 6 catches for 102 yards of Mac Hollins' catches were directly in man-to-man coverage.
4 for 80 yards roughly 80 yards were.
And I've seen higher
numbers,
and I've seen higher than that on
he's
versus Mitchell.
Yeah.
So Terence Mitchell, that was the issue. I don't really blame Terence Mitchell, honestly, for this because he's a practice squad player that you pick up on Wednesday who just got on the team, who you put in man-to-man coverage and isolated the entire game because you were game planning to stop Adams and Waller on the other side of the field and Jacobs, which you did a pretty good job of holding in check for most of the game. You were clearly saying to us, we're going to let Mitchell guard this guy, your 3rd and 4th option. And if you beat us with him, Fine. And he made some big plays down the field and almost won the game. The question is, why is the guy you picked up off the practice squad from the Patriots on Wednesday a better person for that role than Caleb Farley? Why does this team not trust Caleb Farley?
I think there's something wrong, inherently wrong, with the way the staff views its own players. Because here's what I had take issues with. Today, Monday, Mike Vrabel was on a press conference and he said, it's all about knowing the playbook, knowing your assignments, executing play. No, this, know that, know this. You're telling me that a guy that you picked up off the practice squad on Wednesday, who started practicing on Thursday, so Thursday, Friday, and I guess you're off Saturday, right? Who practiced for 2 days, knows the playbook better than your first-round pick. If that is the case, then Caleb Farley may be, and I don't believe this, maybe the dumbest player ever. Because there's no way that Terence Mitchell can pick up the playbook and execute the plays, because he didn't, on short week and notice. And if Caleb Farley, who is your number one pick, who has all the talent and upside in the world, who has allowed less catches and less yards through 3 games where he's played similar amount of coverage snaps than the guy that you're replacing him with, and you say that he's not mentally ready, I think that's a staff issue.
Okay, so I want to say one thing about the role that they were asking Mitchell to play, which to me wasn't very playbook dependent. It was, you are going to mark that guy in isolation coverage the most of the game. So it was, and this, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I agree with almost everything you're saying, and I think it's an indictment of Caleb Farley's readiness. I think it's an indictment of the coaching staff and either not getting him ready and their lack of trust in this particular player.
An indictment of John Robinson.
And indictment of John.
Forget
and if it is about Farley not being able to do this stuff, then it's on John Robinson. So I just want to say the only thing I can think of outside of just lack of trust, which is clearly the case, we don't know the specifics, is that they were asking this player to do a very specific thing, and that maybe this guy happened to be slightly better at this one thing than Caleb Farley.
I just
can't
believe it, though. You know, like, I agree. I think that's what they think.
That's what they think.
I agree. That is what they think. I vehemently disagree. Do not agree at all whatsoever that even at his worst, Farley would have done the same thing. Okay, at his worst. At a slightly better version of Terence Mitchell, he's more athletic. And he's so physical on the boundary. And where was he making catches? Was on the boundary. Yeah, right there where Caleb Farley has known. We've seen it. We've seen him preseason. We've seen it in a few regular season games. He's been able to basically run his man because he's so physical and long to a point where he can't really make that catch.
So let's say all the things I said were true. They only wanted him to do. They only wanted Terence Mitchell to do one thing, and he specifically might do that one thing better than Caleb Farley. Which leads us to a very specific question of why isn't Caleb Farley better at Terence Mitchell at that one thing? And that's you're talking about the boundary. And so, no matter what the answer is, no matter what the question is or the answer, it is about this coaching staff not trusting Caleb Farley to make the plays. So now we get to why. Why isn't that the case? And we don't need to go down this path. This is what I don't like about sort of the national media conversations around this and even some local, which is you don't have to clear your throat with, he hasn't played a lot of corner. He hasn't played a lot of football. He got hurt. He had a back injury, tore his ACL. We know all the context. We know all the quarterback, receiver, recruit, turned into corner, played 1 year, sat out a year from COVID, then towards it. We don't have to go down that path and rehash all of that stuff.
It's proper context, but it's not necessarily important. That's not everything.
It's important context, but I think everybody knows it now.
Yeah,
like we don't have to. Why are you not prepared to start as like the fourth corner on this team when you were a first round pick 2 years ago? And whatever that answer is, the only people that know that are John Robinson, Mike Vrabel, Shane Bowen, and Caleb Farley, and probably the defensive backs coach. But why? The question is why. And I'm not ready to go bust yet. I don't think that's fair. I think we need more time.
But are we going to get that time? See, that's where I'm at.
What are we doing?
Well, see, that's what I'm trying to figure out about this staff is when are we going to find that time for Caleb Farley to play considerable amount of snaps on a consistent basis?
So are you saying you would have preferred to just see what he could do and then be told definitively that it wasn't?
Yeah, I mean, because right now I can't trust this staff blindly and say that he can't do what Terence Mitchell did.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you. So.
Yeah. Well, and let me ask you.
It's hard to
right.
It's hard to figure it all out, honestly.
See, that's where I'm at, because I look at it this way. You know, it's on the staff to get these guys prepared, and to me, it's almost like if the Titans see you struggle with the playbook, they are the opposite of No Child Left Behind. They are leaving you behind. They're turning their focus to other people. They do not have time to teach and coach you.
Yeah.
In the regular season.
It's not personal. You either do your job or you don't.
And I look at it this way. You could talk about not knowing the playbook. I could read a recipe, and it may take me 6 or 7 times to actually nail the recipe on certain things.
Right.
Like a beef Wellington, I would not expect to come out of the gate. I've never cooked a beef Wellington and cooked the most perfect beef Wellington that would make Gordon Ramsay not call me a fat cow.
Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah.
It's going to take a few shots.
But my point is that, but with repetition, I can get there. So where does the repetition for Caleb Farley come into play, especially when you can only do so many things in a regular season during a practice week?
Yeah, they don't have any. Like, you don't get reps during practice in the regular season.
At some point, it's kind of like with Dylan Radins, even though that Dennis Daly is doing well at so far one game, well-ish, that at some point you draft these guys, play the guys to figure it out what it is, because it doesn't work out all the time. Right? I'm not saying that, okay, you play Caleb Farley, he's going to live up to his first-round draft pick, but you're not giving him a fair shake. You're not giving Dylan Radins a fair shake to even practice. To me, does not equate to on-field. And specifically Titans players who practice really well oftentimes blow the game.
Well, I would say it matters in camp.
It's not a great indicator.
When you're full padded up and you can hit. When in the NFL, people that don't know, you can't wear pads.
And we're talking
wear pads like 11 times.
And I know we're not supposed to get in the snap thing because that's already been said. But that still plays into this whole thing, is all I want to say, is that it plays into the whole thing. He's got to find a way. They got to find a way to find him more than one coverage snap just because Christian Fulton went down that one play.
Here's one thing we say about coaches all the time. It's more applicable in college, and we're going to talk about the Vols' big win and some SEC stuff in a little while, because I do want to end with some positivity here on the show. But if your job as a coach is not just to like develop, teach, mold, lead, motivate, all that stuff. It's also to change your own ways to fit the people and the personnel that you have, so that you can maximize their skills, even if they don't do the exact thing that you want them to do. Right? Like that's the job of, mostly on offense, but that is the job of a coach, is they have a system and a philosophy, and the job is to tweak little things so that you maximize strengths and you minimize weaknesses.
Give me 5 players that they've drafted under Mike Vrabel. 5, because they've drafted a lot under Mike Vrabel. Give me 5 that he's developed. I can name 2. Can you name 3 more that he's developed beyond their prospect profile?
I mean, David Long's number 1.
Yeah,
that would be an automatic number.
And these are to varying degrees of success, but you're still talking about David Long, who is a 5th-round draft pick.
And he's a starting middle linebacker for the team.
Right.
Nate Davis.
Yeah,
I would put those 2 on there. Specifically developed. Christian Fulton has gotten better,
but
he got worse.
But he was good. To me, he was good. Yeah, he was first-round gradish.
Well, does Kevin Byard count? Because he doesn't.
No, well, not under Vrabel, because he was drafted in what, 2016?
Well, that was Vrabel would have been Robinson drafted in the first year, and then Vrabel came in.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to overthink this, because I think there's probably a lot
more
players.
Amani Hooker.
Amani Hooker's one that's gotten better. Elijah Molden has gotten better and is
we still got to see what he is on year 2.
Harold Landry has gotten better. As he developed extra pass rush moves.
He was kind of like he's kind of like a Caleb Farley to me. He was a top 15 pick, but
great.
Not for the energy.
Okay.
So I
think there's more than you think. I think most players who come to Tennessee and play for Mike Vrabel and John Robinson are better than when they leave better than when they got here. Almost everybody.
I think you could say that about a lot of the veterans that they bring in. I'm specifically talking like when you draft a player.
I know what you mean now.
You know what I'm saying?
Chris Jackson.
Yeah. Like when Chris Jackson, sort of. But why can't you guys find a way to give Caleb Farley the snaps you gave Chris Jackson in his rookie year?
Yeah. I mean, I I get your point.
I just don't get why they have no patience for Caleb Farley, but have all the patience for other players. I have a hard time finding that line.
I wonder if there's something, having this conversation like this, because I've thought all this stuff too, you since the game. I'm wondering if there might be something we're missing, because the only real answer is that they don't trust him and that he's not good enough. But we know that the talent is good enough.
Yeah.
And there's no way a guy off the practice squad playing against a third receiver should be in that situation.
Right.
So why are we here? So I think the question is
why are they continuing to look?
Are we missing something? I think is the question, and maybe there's something we're missing that we don't know yet. And maybe that's worth the benefit of the doubt. I don't know.
It bothers me that they're continuing to look outside of the organization, which means that you're getting lackluster free agents or more practice squad signings without a trade. So that tells me right there, why not shift your focus to the guys in your house and get them ready?
So Stoney says Caleb Farley is the Beef Wellington of cornerbacks. Is that exactly what?
That's exactly what you heard.
Corey, this is a great question here, because Corey Jackson says, not related to Chris Jackson, says that he might be in the doghouse. Now, I think this is a common thing that fans say when a player doesn't get playing time.
Well, you got to remember that Julio Jones fist fought Mike Vrabel last year. Remember that rumor that was coming out?
Here's the thing about Mike Vrabel. It is nothing is personal with Mike Vrabel. If you killed his dog, but you could do your job and make plays, I'm pretty sure he'd play you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do with any personal relationship. If you're
the guy's playing Jeff Swing. That tells you everything right there that you need to know.
If you're in the doghouse, it's not because of a personal reason. It's because you didn't do your job.
Mm-hmm.
So that is this is a meritocracy. Vrabel of all the NFL is a meritocracy, but Vrabel is the ultimate meritocratic.
Basically, basically what you're asking right now is, and we don't have the answer. You're right. We don't have the answer. How much of it is, what's the percentage of it is on Farley, and what is the percentage of it on the staff not developing Farley?
Would you be satisfied with 50-50 right now? If I said that,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Farley needs to be better, but the staff needs to be better.
I think that's okay. Would I be happy? No, but would I understand it? Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Before we move on to the second half issues, we still got to talk college football. Of course, reminder, we are live every single Monday. Hopefully, some more Victory Mondays right here at the pharmacy, drinking a Funkstata German. I just like saying that, German Hef, and you just polished off a
Baby Jasmine, Master Gal's Baby Jasmine.
Master Gal's Baby Jasmine, of course, here at the pharmacy. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous Monday afternoon.
I have to say, it's the most unique tasting beer I've ever had. It tastes unlike any beer I've had across this global continent, the global world.
Across the global continent.
Global continent. It's really good.
It is very... I don't want to say very unique, because my editor, I can hear my boss, my editor, saying you don't need the very if you say unique. Yeah. That's redundant. But it is a unique flavored beer. It's delicious. That's why you come to the pharmacy. You get lots of unique flavors. You got bratwurst, you got tots, you got burgers, you got all kinds of the Stroganoff burger, by the way, fantastic. The weather's starting to break. It's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. So come on out for lunch. You can bring the kids, the wife, the family. You can be out of here for less than $50 with kids. They got a nice kids menu. And, of course, locally sourced beers, and locally owned and operated since 2011 over here in East Nashville on McFerrin Avenue. So make sure you come on by the pharmacy. And if you want to come on by and heckle Zach on a Victory Monday when they win, I think you should.
You'd be very cautious to come heckle me. I watch a lot.
That's true. He heckles back.
I watch a lot of comedy specialists, comedians, but at the height. I say comedy specialists because they're at the height. They're not like.
Is that like a long snapper of comedy?
Yeah, they're not like Jeff Dunham of comedy.
Yeah,
those stand-ups. I'm talking about like
Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, no, not that loser either.
We're gonna go like Jared Carmichael and Dave Chappelle and
like Jerry Seinfeld. He can get with you with some heckling.
Okay. All right. Chris Rock.
Bill Burr. I would say
Bill
that
Burr's a good heckler.
If you want to get heckled by Bill Burr, come on down and heckle me, motherfuckers.
Did you just compare yourself to Bill Burr?
Oh, I am the Bill Burr of Nashville Sports Talk.
Okay.
How about that?
I don't know what I think of that, actually.
How about that?
We've got some college football stuff to get to coming up in just a little while, so don't go anywhere. We'll talk Vols, and, of course, we'll talk rapid fire SEC, Arkansas A&M getting a big win over Arkansas. Remember to check out Weiss Liquors as well. Uber Eats, Weiss Liquors. The booze will come right to your house in as quickly as 20 minutes. If you pop in the store right there on Gallatin, East Nashville, again, right there. Again, locally owned and operated for almost 100 years. That will give you 10% off if you just say $4.40 at the register. It's very simple. That's tax-free booze.
Just buy 440s, and then you can remember to say $4.40.
That's That's one strategy. I don't know how long those 40s last in the fridge, but go for it. And then, of course, why do we want to Uber Eats the booze?
You got to Uber Eats the booze because they drive so you can drink.
We struggle so bad with a 4-word tagline. And, of course, the Kingston Group, buildkg.com. Don't make any big decisions about your house. Major renovations, major projects. If you own a rental property and you want to renovate it, you want to do a custom build, just have a conversation with the Kingston Group, buildkg.com. Again, locally owned and operating. It's a firm, not a business. It's a firm. They're a nose-to-tail company. And, of course, also right here in Nashville, award-winning, all local companies supporting the 440 Sports Podcast Network, as well as all the Broadway sports media folks as well. So check out all the shows. Now, what in God's name are they doing at halftime for the Tennessee Titans? So we know that they were 24-0 against Buffalo.
I could tell you.
Dumpster fire. I'm setting you up here.
Okay.
This is a setup, Zach. 24-0 against Buffalo. All right? Destroyed. Completely destroyed. 2 3-and-outs, 2 long touchdown drives for the Giants and the Titans coming out of the halftime break. Here were the second half drives for the Tennessee Titans.
Ready.
3 plays, -1 yard, interception. 9 plays, turnover on downs. 6 plays, 29 yards, punt. 3-and-out, punt. 21 plays, 78 yards, 0 points. Meanwhile, Vegas, 14-play drive, field goal. Then they went 3-and-out. 50-play drive that ended with the interception in the end zone, so basically saved by Kevin Byard there. And I think Dylan Cole, actually,
yes.
I believe. A 7-play, 63-yard drive, field goal. 14-play, 81-yard drive, touchdown. Offense, defense, every aspect of this team has been terrible in the second half. They have been destroyed in the adjustment-making department. Tell me why.
Because they keep Todd Downing employed through halftime. It's easy. I mean, you
fire him every week.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Or you could just fire him once and be done with it. Because if you look at Mike Vrabel's entire era of being a Titans coach, because I went and I was curious about this, they actually have gotten better, not only in EPA, expected points per attempt, so per play, and overall success rate in the second half. It's not just overall, it's they're better in the pass and run game in the second half throughout the entire Vrabel era. But if you look at 2021, and if you look at what's gone on in 2022, they're entirely worse in the second half.
What is I'm struggling here, Zach, to put my finger on what is different about 2021 and 2022 Titans offense and adjustments than before 2021. Could you remind me?
Todd Downing.
Oh, okay.
It's easy. It's such an easy thing to point to because it's clearly the data. That's what the data is telling you. I was expecting objectively when I went to look at the Vrabel era, I was expecting maybe this was a Vrabel issue the whole time. And then we just didn't really notice it because there were wins and the come behind
lost
victories,
third quarters,
and all this stuff. I just kind of thought maybe because they were close games that they lost, that maybe we just didn't notice it, right? That they kind of just spread out the scoring evenly. But it is a stark contrast because you're looking at 2nd, 3rd, and 11th in EPA. So 2nd overall in the first half in the entire NFL currently, 3rd in pass EPA, and 11th in rush EPA.
So 2nd overall offense in the first half.
Yes, in the first half of games.
From like an efficiency
metric standpoint.
Yeah. Nerd stuff.
Yeah, nerd stuff. Nerd stuff that matters.
Nerd stuff's good.
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd.
And then they dropped from 2nd overall to 32nd, the last place team in efficiency in the second half over 3 games.
So they're basically the best
in the first half.
And then the worst.
Worst.
Literally the worst.
And that's what you get when you're outscored 55-7 in the second half of games.
40-7 in just the third quarter.
Yeah, 40-7 just the third quarter. It's ridiculous. And what they do is everything that works in the first drive, everything that works in the first half when it is working, because there were close games, because you talked about it. They had the lead in the Giants game. They were really close
the first half in the Giants
game. They were really close in the Buffalo game. So everything that they did, they've become ultra conservative and forget all that. It's like Todd Downing goes in there into the halftime in the locker room and he loses his playbook and has to pick up this random playbook that was left by a high school coach that happened to be touring the facility.
It's Ken Wisenhunt, actually.
Yeah.
If you open it up, it says K Wisenhunt.
Yeah. It's like he gets his playbooks mixed up because there's no way. At this point, I can't say, he's running Vrabel's offense. He is still running Vrabel's offensive philosophy. He's just doing it piss poorly in the second half, and it's Todd Downing.
Now, here's the question.
Same players come out of the half.
I know. Same everything. It doesn't make any sense to be basically number 2 and number 32. It honestly doesn't make any sense. So the question I have, because you brought this up and I'm starting to it's creeping into my brain. You've done this. You've like wormholed the Vrabel top-down influence on the coaching staff.
That's just how I handle everything. I just want to wear you down. Eventually, everybody agrees with me because I wear them down.
Go to the pharmacy, folks. He's just going to tell you enough times, and eventually you're just going to show up and be like, oh, my God, this place is beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
The burgers are spectacular, and the beers are delicious. They're from China. It's great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how much of that conservative, especially in the 2 games they had the lead. The Bills is a different game. That was just the dam breaks.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The dam breaks. And
the other team makes the adjustment. You don't.
They won. But the Giants game and the Raiders game, they had complete control and got super conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that mean when you hear somebody say that? How do you explain that to somebody?
I look at it this way. You're going to see a lot more run plays. You're going to see a lot more basic, predictable plays. Like, I don't think anything that they showed in the second half was as creative as what they were doing in the first half. Let's take the Oakland Raiders game, for example.
Vegas.
Yeah, the Vegas Raiders.
It's okay.
That's what I said. I've heard it both ways. And they are getting Derrick Henry out in space. They are trying to create opportunities for Robert Woods. They are using the leverage they created with Derrick Henry in the run game to open up intermediate routes.
Handing the ball to Treylon Burks in the first half, right?
They were getting Treylon Burks involved, and then they all of a sudden go away from that. And they don't have Treylon Burks involved in the second half. Even though he's out on the field, they're not running plays to him. They're running plays to Jeff Swain. They're solely relying on Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook-Akine, which is fine. They were working. They were doing great stuff. But then you go away from it and you become predictable. The problem is it's essentially you're not run pass technically in the first half, and then you're all of a sudden run pass in the second half.
Okay.
And the thing is that Vrabel's always been that way. Because he's a defensive head coach, so he always plays a little bit more conservative than you would see an offensive-minded head coach. But if you look at what happened in the Chiefs game, Patrick Mahomes got pissed at both Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy because they went conservative, and they ended up losing that game. Here's what I want to get to, is that the difference between Vrabel having a conservative game plan in the second half when he gets the lead in 2018, 2019, and 2020 is that he had better play callers than what he has in 2021 and 2022.
So he trusts them more.
I don't know if he
trusts
trusts them more.
I
think what it is that you're seeing better designed, better called plays according to the script of the game. Like better, you have okay. Hold on. Okay. Here's a better way to put it. This is what I really meant to say. You have 2 offensive coordinators who have a better feel for the flow of the game than Todd Downing does.
I think that's obvious. I mean,
not necessarily better play designers, because I do think Todd Downing's a little creative in some of the stuff he's doing, but I will say that he does not know how to call plays.
Now, ironically, Matt LaFleur got very puckered up and conservative yesterday in the second half, but it ended up in a victory, and Arthur Smith got his first win. So those are the 2 guys, of course, you're referring to.
Yeah.
Here's the real solution. I just figured it out. I just solved it. Jeff Swain, 1 second half target. 6 first half targets, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. Second half, 3 games, 1 Jeff Swain target. They're going away from Jeff Swain in the second half, and I think that's a real concern for this offensive coaching staff.
I would like for them to see them go away from Jeff Swain, but go to Chigakonkwo. I still do not understand.
His usage is very strange, too.
Yeah, his usage is ridiculous, and I don't understand why they don't trust him. What has happened that Chig is not trustworthy, considering what you've seen in practice, what people have laid their eyes onto?
I know.
And is he sleeping in team meetings? What is he doing
unlikely.
that he's not seeing the field, that he's not getting targets and stuff? I don't understand it.
So with Kyle Phillips out, to me, that would have been an opportunity.
Great opportunity
to show more creativity with personnel packages. Because I know you and Mike Herndon have fought about this on Twitter, but Jeff Swain is your best tight end blocker of the 3.
Sort of.
By default, he's the best blocker, but he's not great.
Yeah.
So
he's the best of a D- group, even though technically, if you wanted to, and I had someone come and say, well, according to PFF, Jeff Swaim's the best blocker. And I said, well, according to PFF, Chig Okonkwo is the best blocker. So where's that? Where are you at now?
To me, it was an opportunity with the lead, without your slot receiver, without Kyle Phillips, to be creative. Because what you want to do, and we knew the game plan was to get the ball out of Tannehill's hands fast because of the offensive line issues. You were throwing it to Henry. You're handing the ball off to Burks. You're being creative. That is an offensive situation where Chig Okonkwo is a good piece.
We have spent 50 minutes talking about the Titans.
I know we've got to talk about college football at some point. How about we just spend the last 10 minutes celebrating the Tennessee Volunteers?
I like it.
Are we done with NFL?
I just want to say this.
I think the second half adjustments that has to be solved. You cannot be a first half team in the NFL.
When you have it happen 3 games in a row and it's an apparent and visible trend, that is a problem and issue. And that unless you're going to go up 30-something points on all these teams in the first half, you're setting yourself up for failure. You have to get massive leads in the first half at this point, and that's hard for this team to do if they're, going to lean heavily on the run game.
1 target for Jeff Swaim in the second half in 3 games. I'm just saying. Maybe they should go to him more often in the second half of football games. You want to talk some SEC football?
I do.
How you feeling, Big Orange Nation? How you feeling?
Coach Josh for president. That's what I got up on the YouTube.
Youth pastor, Coach Dad Josh Heupel got the job done. It ended in almost perfect Florida fashion.
It did. I was like, oh, man, UT is going to choke this one away.
But congratulations to the Vols. Hendon Hooker, exceptional game. Absolutely a Heisman candidate. I think he still needs to. I think he needs to beat either Bama or Georgia.
Yeah.
Bama comes to town in a couple of weeks.
Even if they don't win,
the numbers would have to be
the numbers have to be there, right?
Yeah, because Tebow won a Heisman without winning. It's ironic. Tebow won 2 national titles, but the year he won the Heisman was in between. Robert Griffin III won a Heisman without winning even a conference championship. Lamar Jackson won a Heisman without winning a conference championship. You don't have to win. I think the perception is that you have to have a team in the playoff or win the SEC to be a Heisman winner. Hendon Hooker doesn't need to do that. They could do it at 10-2, but he's going to have to play extremely well against Bama and Georgia to do that. You can't just keep dominating teams that aren't ranked. Like, again, it was an exceptional performance. The monkey's off the back. The demons are exercised. All the things you want to say about Tennessee. They figured out a way to win. There's major questions on the defense. Billy Napier made some interesting decisions in the second half. And, of course, they recovered the onside kick and just give everyone a heart attack in Big Orange Nation. But the bottom line is, for the second time since I was in college, I am 40 years old. And for the second time since I was in college, Tennessee can claim victory. I heard stories about the Strip in Knoxville. Could not get in. It took hours to get into bars. Rightly so. Celebrate that victory. You get a week off. You're in the top 10. Coach, youth pastor dad Josh has done the job, and there's a narrative switch happening here. But now he's got to follow it up with more wins against teams like Kentucky, also in the top 10. You got Bama and Georgia, South Carolina on the road. There's still some tough games coming up. But things are looking up for the Tennessee Volunteers. So, 12-team playoff would have been nice this year.
Yeah. I think when you look at the games this weekend, you saw Georgia kind of falter a little bit to Kent State, which was a little weird.
Yeah, they played with their putt a little bit.
Yeah. And to me, I think Bama had a good get-right game against Vanderbilt this weekend.
Yeah, that was the best the passing offense has looked for Alabama.
I will say this. Let me say this. UT, I said it in the year. I said they have the best shot of unseating Georgia.
You did say that.
Okay. As the number 1 seed in the East, I thought that they had a really good shot at that. And I still believe that. In fact, I'm willing to concede at this point that I think that if Alabama and UT had met last week, I think that UT would have won. And now
it's not too far away.
It's not too far away.
It's in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And the Vols will be surging into that game.
Yeah.
Bama's going to have to play Arkansas and A&M.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk a lot about it on Thursday.
Yeah.
Arkansas, Bama this week. You got Mississippi State A&M this week. You got Ole Miss, Kentucky this week. It's a great week for action. Tennessee's just going to be kicked back.
Exactly.
With their heels up in the top 10.
You don't have the fear of a letdown game, right? So they got the Florida emotional win at such a great time in the schedule. It was perfect because, like you said, they get to enjoy the win and they get to get their emotions out, right? Because that's the biggest thing. When you have a game like that, That's an emotional game with a lot of backstory.
You're going to
You
let down
typically have
yeah,
to let down the week after, and now they don't.
No, the way that they allowed Richardson to sort of go off script was the thing we talked about last week would be the concern. That's still a concern because they did it all last year. The secondary is a major question. They gave up almost 600 yards of offense to Florida. The tackling, oh my God, the tackling in the fourth quarter was atrocious. So let's not go crazy.
Right.
There's two things working in Tennessee's favor. Two major big things. A lot of the teams on their schedule that are up are not as up. Florida, LSU, South Carolina, they're down this year. They're winnable. The other thing is that teams 6 through 40 in the rankings in college football are all pretty much the same. So there's a lot of upward mobility for Tennessee. If they can just get to that 9 or 10 win range, they could be sitting at 7th or 8th in the rankings. And if they can beat one of them, which I'm not picking, but if they beat Bama, let's say, Bama goes 11-1, and Bama and Georgia, they lose to Georgia, so they still don't play in the SEC championship game. 11-1 probably puts you at like 5th or 6th in the rankings, which is outside. There's going to be a lot of losses in this college football season. It's very balanced. There's a lot of really good teams that are all about the same. The top 3 are the top 3, but from Michigan to 40, it's all about the same, and that means there's a lot of opportunity for Tennessee to be good.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker.
Same thing for Arkansas and A&M and Kentucky and LSU and Florida and Mississippi State.
They would have won that game if they would have had Callaway, who was out.
Callaway, not Antonio Callaway.
No.
Who caught the touchdown. Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman. I don't know why I said Marquez Callaway caught a pass yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cedric Tillman.
So did Jawan Johnson.
But Callaway was the guy that got injured, right? Or suspended for the game.
Cedric Tillman was out.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman was out, but there was a defender, Callaway.
Yes. They lost one of their top DBs.
But I was meaning Cedric Tillman. Sorry for apologies on that.
Okay.
But no Cedric Tillman that game, and all these other receivers stepped up. They are deep at wide receiver, deep enough that they can go toe-to-toe with Alabama and Georgia on offense. I'm not saying that they will win.
I think they can go toe-to-toe on offense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you're right. Right about
so when you're talking about the defense being a concern, it's only a concern if your offense turns into a concern versus these defenses. And right now, Hendon Hooker is doing such a phenomenal job.
He's been very good.
And his Heisman odds went from 80-1, 60-1.
He's like 5th or 6th
40-1, and now he's like 16-1.
Yeah, he's like 4th or 5th or 6th on the list in terms of betting. So now your chance
I can't
to get him
believe I'm
was,
saying this. I'm buying into this UT team, and I was bought in beforehand.
I think you should. I think again, I had him at 9-3.
Yeah,
I thought LSU, Bama, and Georgia were the losses. They get LSU in 2 weeks. They have 2 weeks to let the emotion of this die down, and then go down to Baton Rouge in 2 weeks.
Be super prepared.
LSU's bounced back from that first week against Florida State. They're doing pretty good. They dominated New Mexico. They're going to get a big test this weekend where they're an underdog. They're an underdog, I believe, this weekend. So we'll see what LSU does this weekend. Should be a lot of fun. Obviously, the other big one in the SEC. So congratulations to Tennessee.
Oh, man, fantastic.
Tennessee fans, celebrate. You deserve it. You earned it. You waited 20 years for it. You got one other win against Florida. You broke some of that jinx, some of that those demons are exercised. So then, again, Arkansas and A&M. Have you ever seen did you see the play? So Arkansas is up 14-3.
Oh yeah, I saw the whole game. The whole game.
So
was
he's
wild.
about to jump in. Yeah, I think you were texting me like
I said, it's
what
a
is
roller
happening
coaster
with this game. I have honestly never seen a game change on a singular play so early in the game than this, where KJ Jefferson dives from probably a little too far out to try to get into the end zone. The touchdown for Arkansas would have made it 21-7. Instead, it's a fumble. One guy for A&M picks it up, makes it about 30 yards. He's in the grass. Then he hands it to another guy. The other guy goes 70 yards down the field. They score touchdowns 14-13. And from then, game on, Arkansas couldn't get it going. A&M got just enough going. They did lose Ainias Smith, who's one of their best players. The offense is still a major question for A&M. But if you want to get into a defensive slugfest, A&M is a team capable of winning those games. I think Arkansas is still pretty good. They're going to bounce back and be good, but that was a big win for A&M.
Yeah, big win. A little bit of a shocking win because it started off really sloppy for Texas A&M, and then all of a sudden, everybody started playing like 10 times better than what they played in like the first, second quarter. Like it was wild.
Yeah. I still don't trust the offense.
Yeah, I don't trust them. I think it's just crazy how it happened. And then of course the missed kick by Arkansas, which was like dead center of the freaking thing. And then let's not even forget speaking of kickers, Missouri's 500-pound kicker goes out there and misses the easiest kick after going 7 for 7 from 50 yards out.
And Eli Drinkwitz's got a lot of flack for taking 2 knees at the end of that game when they could have tried to score a touchdown. But I'm sorry, when you're inside the 10-yard line, you got to make the field goal.
It literally slipped through the guy's fingers to get the touchdown too, because he could have just gone out.
That's the other thing I was going to say is they also lost. So I think it's the tough. So you were on the other. Excuse me. You were on the losing end of the kick six.
Yeah.
So the kick six is probably one of the most painful losses in the history of college football in the SEC. It's an arch rival that knocks you out of the division championship, the SEC championship, and the national title game.
Right.
On a field goal that's trying to win the game. It's as brutal a loss as it can get. I think missing a chip shot field goal from inside the 10-yard line and then in overtime basically running the play that won the game but reaching out to the goal line and fumbling it on the
because he flipped it over to his other hand too to get over
reach
there
it over the goal line, and all he had to do was like dive into the end zone and he would have scored and won the game. So the combination of the missed field goal at the end of regulation from like 11 yards combined with fumbling the ball into the end zone, which Tennessee fans know all about when it comes to the Georgia game a couple years ago. I think that is one of the most painful and difficult ways to ever lose a football game that I've ever seen. And it would have saved – I don't think Eli's in any trouble of being fired, but Eli Drinkowitz would have been guaranteed a fourth year.
Well, it would have let Brian go home and enjoy his family.
And BRYN would have probably been fired. Now he's going to get fired this week when they play LSU at home. I said LSU was an underdog. They're not. They're going to be an underdog to Tennessee. They're playing Auburn this week. I got my point spreads confused, so I apologize about that. But Auburn, I don't know what they're waiting for. That was an ugly. Have you seen the drive chart after it was 14-14?
Yeah. Oh, I'll listen. I watched that whole fucking game. 11 punts. I think maybe even more.
Punt. Like turnover on downs, missed field goal.
I tweeted it was one of the worst football games that I've seen in recent memory.
And then the Niners and Broncos played a game.
Yeah.
Which was also one of the worst football games I've ever seen. A lot of teams in the SEC. Actually, Kentucky struggled. Ole Miss kind of struggled. A lot of teams didn't cover in the SEC in games they should have won. Again, Auburn, what are you waiting for? Move on your guy. I don't understand. Tennessee gets a week off. Alabama got healthy with Vanderbilt. Is there anything else we're missing here?
No, I think we hit it all.
I think we got it all here, man. All right. Make sure you check out the Kingston Group, buildkg.com. If you have any decisions about your house, they are the people to talk to. They will not steer you incorrectly. You've got to trust them, man. It's locally owned and operated for, I think, over a dozen years now, since about the same time the pharmacy came around, 2011. Award-winning. Don't trust general contractors. Not all of them you can trust. You can trust the Kingston Group. Weiss Liquors, of course.
They drive so you can drink.
That's right. Uber Eats. Weiss Liquors booze right to your house in as little as 20 minutes. Pop in the store right there on Gallatin. Again, almost 100 years of locally owned business in this market. And just say $4.40 at the register and you'll get 10% off. And, of course, special thanks to our host here on Mondays, every single Monday, the Pharmacy Burger Parlor and Beer Garden. You did that. I got it right on the first try. They got all kinds of spectacular beers. They got bratwurst. They got tots. They got I'm telling you guys, no joke, the best Dijon horseradish mustard I've ever tasted in my entire life. Right here at the Pharmacy, of course, in East Nashville on McFerrin Avenue. Come on by. 1 o'clock on Mondays. We'll be here all year celebrating Victory Mondays from here on out. So make sure you do all of that. What about the pods this week? What about the YouTubes? What should people do?
They should go to BroadwaySportsMedia.com, get you an insider pass, because that's the only way you are going to see a lot of the articles and contents that we're doing. We got film reviews.
Zach Attack.
We got the Zach Attack, which is me basically just going off on stuff. And we also have the Mike Herndon Show, which is it's basically insiders only. That's worth the $5, less than $5 that you pay. It's worth that.
There you go.
Because all you got to pay is $50. You got to use code annual, and you get the whole year for $49.99. On the Football and Other F Words,
Mike Herndon's back.
Yeah, Mike Herndon is back.
Right.
You have him, who is me and him. It's going to be less like the Mike Herndon Show, which is a lot about the X's and O's. You remember those film articles Mike used to write all the time that he's known for?
It's a lot of you yelling.
Yeah. No, that's on you mixed up with who I was talking about.
Sorry.
So the Mike Herndon Show is all about the stuff that you used to get at Music City Miracles, at Broadway Sports Media that made Mike famous.
He changed his Twitter account.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I refuse to.
What is that about?
Not going to worry about it. And because I will never get that right. I will never get that right. And I told him already. Good luck getting me to remember that, because that's not going to happen.
Can we just leave it on all the promo stuff?
Yeah.
Can we just leave it as at Mike? Miracles?
I'm not changing anything. And but on Wednesdays on Football and Other F Words, it is basically me and Mike just screaming at each other, the Titans, everything.
Sounds like I got it exactly right.
Yeah, but I was actually talking about the Mike Herndon show when you interjected.
No, you brought up F words.
No, you go back to the tape. You'll listen.
Let's go back and watch the tape.
You'll see that you're wrong.
Turn on. Here's what I would ask.
And go to notifications. Broadway Sports Media YouTube. Go to the YouTube at 440 Sports. Go to the Facebook at Broadway Sports Media. Go to the Facebook at 440 Sports. Turn on your notifications because that's how you're going to get all the content because our podcast is also in video form if you're listening to audio form, and that goes for both a football show and football and other efforts.
I would have one request of everybody out there that consumes the content that Zach produces, that I produce, that 440 produces, and that Broadway produces. Just tell one person.
Yep.
Share the product with one person. That is how we grow this. We are locally owned companies, supported by locally owned companies in Nashville, talking about Nashville content with Nashville sports fans about the things that you care about and love with no empty calories, no corporate overlords. This is as authentic content as you will get anywhere on the internet. So just share it with somebody.
Yeah.
Tell somebody about the pharmacy, about Weiss Liquors, about Kingston Group, about the shows you watch and you consume and you love. And we appreciate all your feedback and your comments. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching. For Zach, I'm Braden. Congratulations to all the Tennessee teams on a big weekend. This has been a football show.